Let's face it, railroads use some pretty odd-looking vehicles to maintain their right-of-ways. And the train sitting here in Dallas, Georgia is no exception. This is a multi-purpose machine, or MPM, built by transportation infrastructure contractor Herzog. Its looks will definitely get your attention, but its design is actually pretty clever. Let's start with the train itself. The engine is here, but the MPM can actually run in either direction. And according to Herzog's website, it can run at track speed when it's in travel mode. You can see it's got a control cab at the other end of the train. And by the way, this whole thing can be run by a single operator. Between the engine and that cab car are 6 articulated well cars. These are basically like what you'd see on an intermodal train hauling shipping containers. And before we really get into this video, let's address the do not hump warning on this equipment. I know it's funny and sounds a little weird, but this means the train cannot be switched at a hump yard. Basically, a hump yard is a piece of land with a large hill. Cars are pushed over that hill, or hump, and gravity takes them to their assigned track. There's much more to this concept, but we'll save that for a future video. Okay, here's the really cool part of this setup, this hydraulic excavator. It can actually ride on top of the well cars and traverse the length of the train. Now, my guess would be they chose this model of excavator because of how compact it is. You can probably tell the tail end of it doesn't swing out as much as other models. Because of that, it won't obstruct the track it's working next to. So what do they use multi-purpose machines for? Well, according to Herzog's website, these trains can be used for ballast distribution, rail and tie pickup and distribution, ditching, brush cutting and tree removal, and other things. With all those uses, this excavator needs to have a few different attachments available. You can see 2 of those attachments on the control cab car here. It's carrying what looks like a grapple and also an electromagnet. That electromagnet would be helpful picking up OTM or other track material, which is basically non-rail hardware like spikes, track bolts and nuts, tie plates, and rail joints. When I recorded this MPM, the excavator had a large grapple attached and a bucket sitting on the car with it. Herzog says excavator attachments can be disconnected and connected in less than 5 minutes. Today, it looked like these cars were mostly empty, except one carrying trash and debris. So we've looked at the train itself, but let's examine the engine a little bit more. According to the website rrpicturearchives.net, this is classified as a GP40-3, but it was originally Seaboard Coastline number 1586, a GP40 built in 1970. Several other railroads would operate the locomotive before Herzog acquired it. Just for comparison, I was able to find one picture of an old SCL GP40, but it's not the same unit used for the MPM that we're looking at in this video. There's no doubt, this thing has been heavily modified. The cab is totally custom, and the walkways that are usually on the sides of most North American locomotives are now covered. But there are still some features visible that identify this as a GP series engine. The grills and fans, plus the dynamic brake grid on the top of the unit are still there, so are the trucks and fuel tank. While we're on the subject of specialized equipment, I figured I'd show you this. Check out the engine that leads this old rail grinding train. It's basically a GP38-2 in a customized F40PH shell, according to the book Locomotives, the Modern Diesel and Electric Reference. Alright, back to this yellow beast. Herzog actually has dozens of these things operating in the United States and Canada. So, despite its odd looks, the design must work. In the end, the multi-purpose machine is just another example of how the folks who work on the railroad get the job done.